Hey guys, what's going on? Another episode of 4NERDS. As you can obviously see, that our guest this week is none other than stunt performer, actress, total badass, Samantha Win. Samantha, welcome to 4NERDS. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am as well. So how are things? How has life been treating you? Movie's been out for a few weeks. Is it crazy right now? Is it?
It definitely is. It's a funny thing because Army of the Dead, in my mind, I wasn't sure how different it would be from the other projects or my size of role.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was quite prepared for the amount of extra attention that it would be getting, that Chambers would be getting right now. So it's surreal, and life is a trip right now.
Yes, I bet it is. We'll get to Army of the Dead in just a little bit. Yeah, and I totally feel you. I don't know if you know Ray Porter. He played Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League. He says the same thing. Like it was just like an explosion of attention that he wasn't like used to.
Yeah,
it's the same for you.
Totally. And I know that there was a lot of hype going into that film, so perhaps I should have expected it. But I'm so used to flying by low key that it's a new thing.
Yeah, new thing. Yes. Well, I'm happy for you. Congratulations on this success, because that's Chambers, my favorite character in the movie. Oh, the action sequences. Oh man, we'll talk about that in a bit. But first off, let me ask you, how did you get started? Like, what brought you to the industry, and why was it stunt performing that caught your eye?
Well, it was actually acting first. So when I was a kid, I was in like toy commercials, and I did print modeling for like Sears and the Bay.
Yeah.
And all those, like, I was one of those kids dressed in Gap, just like posing with fake parents and advertising. I really was. But I can't really say what sparked the interest necessarily, because I do think acting was just something I always knew I wanted to do. I was one of those lucky few people who just had a calling early in life, and literally since childhood have been pursuing. So I don't know what it was, but when I watched Jet Li films is when I decided that the action genre was going to be my home and my game. And I fell in love with the movement and the excitement and the technical aspects of using your body along with your emotional performances, and how exciting and fun that could be. So after the age of 11 or 12, once I became obsessed with Jet Li, is when I started leaning into action. And stunt performing was kind of a natural progression out of my athletic career. So that wasn't something I think I even knew existed as a kid. But once the opportunity presented itself as a teenager, I was like, who wouldn't want to be a stunt double? Who wouldn't want to move to Los Angeles and fly on wires and experience all of that? So, and I knew that it would only be helping and going towards a future acting career, and it would only be informing me and giving me more experience on set. And so I've just been taking it as it comes, and boy, has it been a ride.
Yes. I'm sure it has. We're all enjoying seeing the ride, right? So, and you started stunt performing when you were young, or martial arts, I should say. I heard you say in another interview talk about you were really young when you started martial arts.
I was about 4 years old, and that is because my mom is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So just as a birthright, we had to go into jiu-jitsu at age 4. And I had 2 older brothers, so I was always in the environment already, because I was a baby in the crib in the martial arts studio as my brothers were training. So when I hit 4, I was very ready and excited to start as well. It's weird how I can have those memories, but I look at a 4-year-old now and I'm like, you're not going to remember shit, but I guess I do. So I guess they can too. But
I would say it's pretty, probably since it's had an impact on your life and career. So I'm pretty sure that's why those type of memories seem to stay with you. Because that has helped, right, with your stunt career, the fact that you had martial arts in your life at such a young age.
Oh yeah. And it very much shaped my personality, and I think like my work ethic and discipline. I think so many things stem from having some sort of focus when you're young. So I'm so grateful for that. And then I transitioned into wushu, which is a performance martial art, when I was like 11 or 12. So I really stuck with that path. But stunt performing was actually pretty young as well. My first job was when I was 14. I did motion capture for Brad Allen, who's actually a big second unit director. And I wish I knew the importance of that at the time. He was just the guy at the time, but he's huge now. But yeah, 14 and then 17 was my next job after that for stunts. And then kept going from there.
All right. Well, like I said, we appreciate the time that you put into it because we get to see the result on screen and it's just like, it's fire. It's fire. So real quick. So one thing that I do on my show, and like I said, with us 4NERDS, we try to combine like different aspects. So there's something that's exclusive to my show that I do where I ask every guest 3 random questions. They're really random. Like when you hear this question, you're gonna be like, yo, that is random. And it's just like little tidbits. I don't know if we'll get to all 3, but I did want to make sure I asked you one. This is one I've asked a lot of guests before, and it's they seem like it. So, okay, so right now, off the top of your head, without going to look, what's the oldest thing in your refrigerator?
Mayonnaise.
Yes. Same. For and I always answer the question as well, like condiment packets. For me and my wife could clean the refrigerator just on point every time. For some reason, the condiment packets are still there. Like, you know.
Because they don't go bad, or at least in my mind, they don't.
Yes.
Maybe I'm going to open it and be very regretful of that.
Like you choose like a ketchup packet from like 2004. You're like, yo, I just can't do this.
I'm sure my parents have ketchup packets from like when I was a child. I'm pretty positive of that.
Yeah, so there it is. Like I said, totally random. Just like I like the energy that comes from asking those questions. So you have a short film that you have been you're finished now, right? Unwelcome. You want to talk about that a little?
Yes, it's the first short film that I co-produced, co-wrote. Kind of had the idea with my partner, and during the pandemic, we wanted to do a project that was fun and that we could get out there, we could accomplish with a small crew, but also one that still says something. And so we felt that Unwelcome, the story with this one, was a good balance of getting a good message out there in a very fun and satisfying way. And so without revealing a twist, because I hope some people watching can click over and check it out, but it is a thriller with a twist, and I would like to think of it as the kind of twist where you might be uncomfortable and squirming in your seat, but when it happens, it's that get up out of your chair and I don't know if I can squirm. I'll say hell yes moment. So yeah.
And where can people find the movie?
They can find it by searching Unwelcome and my name on YouTube, or if they are Vero users, I also have it up on Vero.
Okay, nice. And so, like, what attracted you to that? Did somebody approach you and say, "Yo, I got this fire story that like I'd like you to be a part of," or did you hear about it and were just interested in? So, how did you, like, I guess I could say, how did you like become a part of the movie?
Well, it was my partner and myself really wanted to produce a project together during the pandemic instead of just sitting around, because you know, as the whole world was doing, we were just kind of sitting around for those first few months. And so we wanted to make good use of the time and do something that we could be proud of. And it was fun, and, you know, get our close friends at a social distance to accomplish the goal. And that was really the Kickstarter for it. But it very much was just a fun project for us to sink our teeth into. No pun intended. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
We'll try to stay away from those just a bit. And what about the cast? Like the cast on the film, like how were they to work with? And like obviously you said friends and stuff.
Yep. So the director, as well as my co-writer and co-producer, Shahab Bari, he plays Brock. He is the very creepy gentleman, but it's okay because he's my boyfriend. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. And also, here he is.
Makes it way better.
No.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, God.
That was fun. That was great.
Right. One of my best friends, Dawn Marie, she plays Tessa. And then Shahab's best friend, Dustin Stern Garcia, plays Kyle. So it was, I think it was the perfect blend of having those real friendships in real life. And I think it lended itself even further to the story. And also getting to create a safe environment to step out of ourselves so much, because I like to think that I'm not as timid and shy as my character. Shahab is definitely not the, the creepy predator that his character is, but we know in that environment that you can kind of go farther without fear of how you're coming across personally, because everyone knows you. It's a safe environment, especially between our two characters. We both have stunt backgrounds, so that really helped in certain scenes.
Okay, and by the way, let me ask you, like, how is it working on something like that where it's not real, but like you have to like give the idea that it's real? I've always wondered that people who's worked on like movies like this, like how was it trying to like you gotta make the audience believe that this is creepy for real, but it's actually not?
Yeah, I really think so much of that comes with the trust, and also establishing the lines that you want to go to or stop at prior to shooting a shot. Because I think the worst case scenario on any set, whether you're familiar with the person or not, would be not knowing what the safe line is, what the line of "I'm comfortable with this" is. So even though in this instance we were a couple, there's still a discussion amongst everyone with where it's going to go to, and it's a very choreographed piece. I think that is the most professional, safest way you can go about it. No surprises that are going to leave people with traumatic scarring afterwards.
Yeah. So you guys check out Unwelcome. Like you said, it's on Vero.
Hopefully everything we just talked about now stirs enough excitement. People are probably wondering what the heck we're talking about. Yes, Vero and
YouTube and Vero, check it out. Unwelcome with Samantha Win. Now let's talk about a guy that we both know. Like, I don't know him personally. Wish I did, but you know, there's Zack Snyder.
Man of the Year.
Yes, the year of Zack Snyder. Legit. That dude. If I ever get the chance to talk to him, which I hope it happens for me at some point. How is it? Like, what has he meant to your career, especially lately when it comes to like Army of the Dead or Man of Steel or any of the movies that you've worked on with him?
Well, quite frankly, I really don't know what my career would look like without him, or if I'd even really have one. Even dating back to Sucker Punch, after I'd worked on
Sucker Punch,
he had even written a letter for me to be able to move to LA to get my green card. So he's very responsible for me having a career. And then, you know, the 7 projects afterwards was invaluable to my resume and to me be able to leverage that into other work and my on-set experience. Really, everything I know comes from his sets and his team that I've worked with often now. So it is an absolute joy. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a single person who didn't have a good time working on his sets.
That's what I feel. I've heard nothing but just great things from anybody who's ever like had the opportunity to either be behind the scenes or in front of the camera on his films. So yeah. And so how did the first time you worked with Sucker Punch, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Like, how were you able to it was stunt performing, right?
Yes, I was stunt doubling Jenna Malone, who plays Rocket.
Yes.
And I was actually 17 when I was first communicated with about the project. So Dylan Caro and Zack Snyder had me in mind to stunt double the character. And it was just, luckily production was going to be after my 18th birthday. So I actually could fly out and be put up and go to work every day without needing to have my parent guardian around. But Damon actually had conversations with my parents to make sure they were comfortable, so they knew exactly where I'd be, and they had a line of communication. They really, really went above and beyond to make that experience comfortable for not just me, but for my parents, who, I mean, who really does that? Once you're in the workforce, you're in the workforce. No one really takes care of your parents easily, but they really went that extra mile to do that for them.
That's great.
And I think that set up right off the bat a feeling of family and a feeling of genuine care. And then you go and say, you know, have Debbie Snyder on set as his co-leader, and it really feels like parents of the set, and they're an excellent example for people when it comes to behavior on set, but also reinforcing positive ethics on set. It really, if I only worked on his movies the rest of my career, I would consider myself a lucky performer. They just really take care of their performers and their crew, and I walk away with a great experience every time.
Oh, that's great. That is great. So it was Sucker Punch. I love that movie. I have like little Zack Snyder library down here. It's just all his movies, like several different copies of some of the movies, just because, you know, I got to collect them all. So Man of Steel. I also heard another interview you saying, just for our audience who may not have heard, like you didn't think you were going to be like actually on the movie, like on screen as a character. Was it Corvex? Corvex, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea. I knew that I would be stunt doubling Feora. And even at the time, the character was going to have a buzzed head. So I had to agree to buzzing my head. So it took me a while to come around to the idea. I had to call my parents, and I was like, "Will you still love me?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Fine." So I bought extra jewelry and wigs. But once I was on board with that, I was going to wardrobe fittings. And at the wardrobe fitting, they're like, "Oh, we have some other costumes for you to try on." And I'm like, "Oh, Vero gets to wear so many different Kryptonian wardrobes." And they're like, "Oh, no, this is for Carvex." And I'm like, "Oh, am I doubling another character?" And then they told me that I was going to be Carvex, as if it's no big deal. And so I was trying to like, "Oh, it's just no big deal." Sure.
By the way, your Carvex, so this is it cool? And that's all they said. You're like, I guess.
Yeah. So I was trying not to act like a complete nerd in front of them, because I was obviously over the moon excited, and they weren't. So I had to contain that to myself in order to, you know, blend into societal expectations of me. Yeah.
Well, you were great in it for what you were in. You almost punched Lois Lane in the face, so there's that.
I know. I accosted Amy Adams. That is it.
Were you able to interact with her any on the set? Amy, besides the scenes you guys shot together? Yeah,
she really, even though I didn't work with her for, I mean, I'm sure like a few weeks on set, but she really is an example for me and a role model when it comes to being such an amazing actress. She's Oscar nominated.
Oscar nominated, yes. She has yet.
And yet the way she carries herself on set is so warm and welcoming. She will be chatting and goofing around right up until they call action. And then she's able to focus herself so quickly. She's a true professional, kind and warm to everybody. She really is such a lovely person. I know that my small interactions with her were very much how she is with everyone. And, you know, when I was smaller roles on set, I never felt that way with her. She has no sense of hierarchy. You're a human being and you deserve kindness and respect regardless. And so I really felt that from her. She's amazing, and I'm happy to see how far she's gone.
Yes, hopefully she gets that Oscar soon. Like as Amy Adams fans were like, "Oh, is it time yet?" And it just sadly it hasn't come yet, but hopefully, I'm sure it will come. It'll come soon because she's fired. So that brings me to like Snow Steam Iron. That is that's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. It's not just being a Zack Snyder fan, but like you shot a movie on an iPhone. Looks better than some movies I've seen shot with like professional cameras. So could you talk a bit about that? Like, how was that experience, and how did you become a part of Snow Steam Iron?
Well, the first conversation I had about it, Zach had called and told me about the project, and he described the whole story, and I was listening, and I was like, okay, yep, just waiting for the part where he goes, and then she dies, or she does this crazy stunt, and would you be able to come in and double the character? But after he finished telling me the story, he'd said that he'd written it with me in mind and would I want to play the character. And at that point, I was trying, I was crying on the phone, but I was trying really hard to sound like I wasn't crying because that would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
So, I was just so over the moon, and I told him, of course, I would want to be a part of it. He can pretty much always count me in with anything he does. And hung up the phone, was dancing around like a crazy person. And then we got to set, and it was truly a special experience because you have Wesley Snyder from the Stone Quarry, one of the big producers, who would be holding a hose and wetting down the street or handing out paper towels. Everybody was there just wearing as many hats as they could, all with the goal of making the project the best they could. No one was fulfilling their normal high-paid roles. Everyone was just there to support Zach and to make the project. No one was being paid. It was just friends and family telling the story. And so you really felt that level of, I guess, true friendship, to get that many people together and to dedicate a weekend and, you know, laying in the streets, everyone's dirty. Sets are usually slightly uncomfortable, so everyone's out in the elements, working long days, and we're happy to do it. And we were all there with each other, for each other, and telling a beautiful story. And so I really consider it probably the most special project I've worked on for that reason. But then also career-wise, it was my first time getting to work in a lead role capacity.
Yes.
So I got to learn so much, and it was a true test of myself that I think gave me the confidence to actively pursue and make my intentions for acting more known afterwards, because I felt like if I could prepare and at least in Zach's eyes, do a decent job using iPhone, which I think is more difficult because you don't have as much prep time.
Yeah.
Like they show you the shot and then they just lift up the phone and it's like, you ready?
Oh.
When usually there's 20 minutes of setting up lighting and more blocking. We didn't really have that. Zach was using natural lighting and he was good to go. And I had to be sharp and on point. And so after that experience, I felt like it helped me get to a new level with my own personal confidence in acting. So it's a special project for many reasons.
Okay. And it's fire. Like I said, I love it. It's short, and I just still can't believe it was shot on an iPhone. You know what I mean? Just like, and this shot right here is just badass. This is, you know.
Yeah, it really was part of, I should say, the inspiration for Unwelcome on my personal end as well. Because if Zach can go out and shoot that in a weekend on an iPhone, why should I be sitting here for 9, 10 months, however long the pandemic was going to take, feeling like I can't go out and make content on my own too? So it inspired me, and that was the goal of the project, to inspire people with iPhone filmmaking. So
nice. And that brings me to, you know, I don't know. The movie Zack Snyder's Justice League means a lot to me, as well as a lot of other people in this movement who like just wanted it and asked for it for years before they finally. So, what are your experiences? Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm sure did you shoot anything new for when he went?
No, I was not a part of those reshoots. So everything was just news to me as I was watching after filming as well. But that movement was so uplifting. I think it was something that, you know, we all tweet the hashtag and we're all for it, but it'd never been done before. So I think on some small level, it still felt impossible. But when Zach called and said that his Justice League would be released, I didn't think that it hurt him right at first, because it is so unbelievable. It's an unprecedented thing to have such a drastic re-release that cost millions of dollars to complete. It really felt like a huge win, but not just for Zach, who obviously I'm extremely happy for, and the film industry, but it really felt like a good representation of that time in the world in general. Like, you look at GameStop stocks, you look at the current social events happening. It was a year of the people's voices collectively finally making a difference. And so, at least for me, when Justice League was released, it was yet another example that when people come together, we can affect real change. And so it was a deeper experience for me. And I think for a lot of people, consciously or not, that was a feeling that was had. Even if they weren't supporters of Justice League or huge fans, I feel like most people were just very happy that it's now possible.
Yeah.
Speaking up can make a difference.
Yeah. Just me personally, and a lot of my friends, that's like tears, like legit, like, you know, that's the kind of reaction to like him announcing it last year in May. And it was just like, are you kidding me? Holy shit, it's happening. So we were all like, yo, everybody's very happy with the final product. So talk about your experience like filming Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, back when, and also like this is like a continuation of your character from Wonder Woman, right?
Yes, correct. Well, as always, I have an amazing time filming. I think the most notable fun part about my role while we were actually shooting was the shot where I am leading up the horses and then stepping and goes over us. I turn with the horses in one of the shots, and when I turned with the horse's butt like crossed camera, and it pooped as it crossed the lens, and it was just right up in everyone's faces. So after I turned and everyone started laughing, I didn't know what was going on, and I watched it back, and I was like, "Ew!"
Oh man, that is
So that was the thing I'll never forget about the shooting experience. Out of all the amazing things happening and the costumes and everything, I'm going to remember the horse pooping in slow motion.
So right after this.
Yes, exactly. It might have been in that shot, just, they cut out of it before.
Oh, that is crazy. That is crazy.
Yes. But when it comes to the theatrical version versus Zack Snyder's Justice League, it was a funny experience for me because I knew what we had filmed. And in a way, I almost thought that in the theatrical version, that's what we filmed. So I guess that's what it looks like. It didn't occur to me how drastically different my scenes could feel just with Zack's eye afterwards and Zack re-editing them, because a lot of the same shots were still used in my spoiler alert death sequence.
Yes, which is your favorite? I heard you say on social media that's your favorite one.
Yes,
it's moving to say the least.
Thank you. And I didn't know that it could be that until Zack's version came out. I really thought that myself as a performer wasn't capable of that. And I thought what I shot on set was just what it was in the theatrical version. But when it was re-released, I could really feel the impact and the difference that just a different set of eyes has on a project. And I know that there are some additional scenes like running in the hallway that were also included. But the relationship between Queen Hippolyta and the rest of the Amazons was so much more filled out in Zack's version.
Oh, yeah.
That, he really made you be a kind of a representation of all the Amazonians. So I felt like when my character died, it meant so much more in his version. Not because there was all of this extra footage, but because there were actual real relationships.
It seems like that small arc that you had between, and her saying, "Show him your fear." We have no, chills every time, just to let you know that's so fire. But then like that, I see what you're saying. That little small piece, there's such a better, stronger character arc in just that small piece of film. That when you die, I see why you say it just means more.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was a cool experience for me, and I felt like I learned more as a filmmaker because you can take footage and make probably 5 different movies out of the same footage that you shoot. So director's eyes are extremely important.
Yes, they are. They are. And so let's talk about being an Amazon. You're a Kryptonian and an Amazon. Just badass like things. Like so. Talk about being an Amazon.
Oh, wow. Well, first, it was an honor because thankfully I already knew what Amazonians were, who Amazonians were prior to shooting. So there was definitely a level of expectation I put on myself and pressure to properly represent. So before showing up on set, I was doing my own horse training and I was in the gym because I didn't want to be a scrawny Amazon. And my most memorable experience in the training part of things while preparing was that no matter how much I prepared on my own, when I got there, I was still put through the ringer. And I was trying so hard to keep up with everyone else because I was one of the last to arrive for training. So everyone else had already gone through the part of showing up, going all out, being sore, getting stronger, and now they're just on their constant path. But I showed up and they're on their constant path. And I'm trying so hard to prove myself that we were doing these sled sprints where you have weights on a sled and you have to run them back and forth. And I just went way too hard, way too we were supposed to do 10, but I was at a 100% full sprint for my first one. And so by the time I got to 3, I had jello legs. And I couldn't push. I was just trying to use like the weight of my body leaning on it to just push it forward. And I knew it was embarrassing because everyone in the gym got behind me and started cheering for me. Even though there wasn't much weight on the sled, I just had no power. But it was embarrassing because I still had 7 more to go. So they were there for a long time cheering for me, which was sweet. But yeah, it was embarrassing on my end.
Well, I know the feeling. Trust me, I do. I know the feeling of going too hard. For start, when you got like a it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Is the term I think that's used.
Yes, and I'm still having a hard time learning that lesson.
I think we all are. And speaking of, because I did want to talk to you about it, because you obviously you have to be in some sort of physical shape to do what you do. So how important is physical fitness to you, and like especially for your career and your profession? Like, how important is staying in shape to that?
I mean, it is extremely important to me, but I will admit, like anyone else, I'm human, and so I will fluctuate and go through phases. And I do think maybe part of that is credited to my athletic career. At that time in my life, I was going so hard constantly for so many years that by the time I was 18, like I was just pretty tired as a human being. Now with these projects, like being an Amazonian, those also have required such intense training that my training kind of goes from like super high intensity to now I'm exhausted and I need a few months off. Now I have to get back in shape, and then it's some sort of high intensity project again, and then I get tired, and then I train for. So I fluctuate probably more than I should, but as my roles are becoming slightly less, well, they're not really becoming less intense, but figuring it out more, I'm trying to be more steady and constant and have a daily routine. But I do fall off like anyone else, and I'm not perfect.
Needed. I probably don't take enough time off from the gym, but like it's the same thing though. My wife tells me all the time, like, yo, you need to rest because one day off is not good. But then you go too much, and then it's just you might as well not go at all because your performance kind of suffers because you've just been going too much. So is there like a particular like diet that you have for like preparing for certain roles?
Yeah, and it would be for certain roles, like you said. Like for the Amazonians, I really wanted to put on a little bit more. I wanted to be a little bulkier of muscle. I felt like it was just a strong look, and we were covered in armor, and I just thought that would be a cool look for the character. Originally, I would have ideally liked to be more leaned out to see more muscle definition as well, but I didn't time it right, and I didn't manage that leaning process like I would have hoped. Because but for Army of the Dead, I really, because it was a crop top especially, I wanted to have a little bit more definition, and in my shoulders with, we're wearing sunblock and in the sun constantly, it would be a cool kind of badass look. With the bandana, I feel like you need to have defined shoulders and as much definition as my body would allow for my abs. And so that was kind of a routine of constant training with no sugar and but sugar on the weekends. Like I never.
You gotta splurge a little bit. Right?
Yeah. I would just try to be more conscious of it. So during the week, or if I knew I was going to be shooting a sequence for a few days, I'd cut back on sugar, have more protein and vegetables, and then after that sequence is done, allow myself some freedom and continue again, because it's more sustainable for me that way.
Yeah, I always like to, when I talk to, because I've talked to Richard before, but Richard Citrone, we're going to have him on next week on 4NERDS, and so that's always something I like to ask, like people that are in the business who act or do stunts and things of that nature is like, yo, what's your diet and how do you like train and things of that nature? It's very interesting to me as somebody who frequents the gym, I guess you could say. It's speaking. Do you eat cereal?
Speaking of, do you eat cereal? Yeah, sometimes I enjoy cereal, but it's never something I crave. So maybe like once every couple months.
Okay, so but when you were a kid, did you like eat a lot of cereal? Was that?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
So what cereal, this is another random question, what cereal leaves behind the best milk? You know how you eat the cereal and then there's like this milk?
I think the Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like, is it called Reese's Pieces or?
I think it is. I'm like you, I don't eat cereal a lot and don't crave it, but I always, that's an interesting question. I'm a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, once you're done, the milk is fire. It's just, it's I almost want to just pour it in a glass and sip on it. It's that good.
See, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my favorite cereal.
Yes.
But I like the milk that the Reese's Pieces leaves behind because it has like, it's a lighter, sometimes it's too sugary for me for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But I don't mind eating the pure sugar, but I guess drinking. Who knows?
That's my favorite. So Reese's Pieces, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And so now let's talk about it. It's been out for a few weeks. It's well loved by everyone, it seems. So before we even get into Army of the Dead, I have to know what's up with this hair flip right here. What's good with it? Because I remember in the trailer, I thought you got shot. The way, like it shows you and it cuts, and I was like, yo.
It's because they like sped through the flipping part of it, so it looks like a weird neck contortion.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what people were talking about until someone actually sent me a screen of my head tilted like that, and I was like, "Oh, that's what they're talking about." Did I die?
Yeah.
This came about because we were doing a 360 shot, and it was kind of one of those classic moments where it's character. So it felt like a good opportunity to really have some sort of small behavior represent what makes my character different. And, you know, wearing the hoops and the crop top and the baby girl necklace, it felt like an appropriate, she's badass as it is. So I think she can also lean into her femininity. And then you put on top of that the fact that the sequence is Tanaka's imagination of how to go down. I feel like in Tanaka's mind, looking at what is in front of him in that scene, this would make sense. I imagine that he would imagine her looking like that while killing zombies. So that was
100% you doing the hair flip.
It was 100% me. It was something each of us just got to create on our own when it came to that shot. We did it.
That's like a lot of people's favorite. besides the fire action sequence that we'll get to in a little bit. But so I just always wondered. I saw that, and like I said in the trailer, I was like, yo, did she get shot? And then when I saw the movie, which I was actually able to see when it released in theaters a week before on Netflix. Yeah. And so I was watching it and I was like, oh, that's so dope, dude. It's so badass. But so how did it come about? I also heard this on another interview, but just tell our listeners and our viewers, like, how did this opportunity come for you to be in Army of the Dead?
So I'd heard that Army of the Dead was in pre-production and some of my friends were already working on it. I was hearing whispers around and I could see the synopsis and the character description. So I knew how badass it was going to be. I was like, oh my God, this is Dave Bautista, zombies, Las Vegas, mercenaries. I want to do this. How do I do this? No one's calling me. And so I was kind of in one of those phases in life where I was trying to improve myself and I was trying to step out into things that might traditionally make me uncomfortable. And this was one of those times where if I didn't do that, I don't know that I could forgive myself for not doing it. So I called all of my friends and I was like, hey, if I ask Zach to audition because I'm not hearing anything, do you think he's going to think I'm ungrateful? Because he's already hired me on 6 shows before. He's already given me a letter for my green card. He and Debbie have already done so much for my career. I didn't want them to think that I have expectations or that I felt to anything.
I got you.
But at the same time, I really wanted to be able to just show my work, just audition, and that would be make it for me. That would be more than amazing. But yeah, so after 3 days of my friends being like, stop worrying yourself, you're creating your own problems, just text and ask, I finally did. And Zach replied, of course, come and audition. We're happy to have you audition. And all of those fears went away. And I do feel like I stepped into a new chapter of my life. And if I didn't do that, who knows if I would have been a part of the project. So
yeah. Never know until you try. Well, we're all happy that you did.
Thank you.
So like did you audition for the role of Chambers, or did you just come in and just audition for any part?
Well, the sides that I had gotten were for Lily's character. I do feel like that is kind of common in casting. If there isn't a whole chunk of a scene, because Chambers, when you look at the film, it is a little spread out. So it would be harder to have like sides cut where you can gauge an actor's feel for the character. So I did read sides for Lily, and kind of went out and shot basically a short film to submit to Zach. I really wanted him to know how seriously I took it and how much of my attention I felt it deserved. So I did not the typical approach when it comes to making a self-tape, but I thought his eyes were going to be seeing it directly, so I thought that he personally might appreciate that. And I'm just thankful that John Papsadera didn't look at it and be like, what is this? And he was very supportive, and yeah, they called me a few weeks later with the good news.
Yes. How did you react to that? Was it
tears?
Yeah.
I look very cool on camera, but I'm an emotional person, and I'm not very cool. I make potpourri and scented candles. Yeah.
All right. So this is okay. Real quick before we move on, this is one of the funniest, especially after you've watched the movie. Once the movie's done, when he's like, "Who has never killed a zombie before?" and you're like, and then the movie's over, and you're like, "No way that's true." So like, let's. Do you what do you think about your character? Do you think there's like some other stuff that maybe might come out later about your backstory? Because what happens in that action sequence is ridiculous, and like, there's no way you could just believe the way she raised her hand like, yeah, I've never killed zombies before. I'm like, no way that's possible.
Well, as an actor, you kind of look at what's in front of you and you make it make sense. And so I felt like there were three very likely. I felt like there was a lot of reasons as to why Chambers specifically either A, could just lie about it because she doesn't trust anyone and she doesn't want to reveal her cards. B, she's also so close with Guzman's character, and they come from like a gaming YouTube background. I feel like it's highly likely she could have played a crap ton of VR and just VR mixed with that instinct of survival, giving her an edge on that. Or the third option would be that perhaps she doesn't have experience killing zombies, but perhaps non-zombies.
It used to be a soldier or something like
that is something that I channeled, but because there's no official backstory for that, I wouldn't want to say publicly in case that part of the story is ever filmed in the future. That is on the writers. But for me, I made sense in terms of that between gaming and real life experience. I think she definitely lived a hard life prior to the outbreak, so it was not a very far reach for me to find where that could come from.
Nice, and you did a terrific job. Also love this one because you guys took that for real. I couldn't find it though. I saw you where you posted like where you guys actually took this photo, but this is one of my
It's in my like tweets and replies. Someone had asked for it, or I posted it at some point in my tweets and replies. So you should be able to find the actual selfie that we took.
Okay, I'll take it. So tell me memorable experiences from the set. Like, tell me some things that like really stood out. Like once you were done filming and you had time to reflect on the shoot. Like, you got to be anything like really memorable that just comes to mind?
funny that you'd mentioned the hair flip moment, because that shot was extremely memorable for me. Because I think that's the standard kind of superhero shot that you dream about doing, and that you might act out in slow motion as a child when you're feeling like you're super fly.
Yeah.
But we got to do that in real life, and I had this giant fan in front of me to assist with my hair flip, and it was just a really neat image to look at us standing back to back, and then to see the 360 dolly track, and then everything that each individual person wanted or needed for their behavior moment. But that was a standout for me. Another standout was the fight sequence day, of course.
Yes, yes. And you filmed that in one day, right?
We filmed that in one day. We had 1 week to prep it ahead of time. But what made it so special for me was that I think we ended up accomplishing something that for many other productions and teams would be near impossible to do in just one day. But because Damon Caro was one of the first to hire me back from when I was 17 years old, and on Sucker Punch, Wayne Daglish, who was one of the fight coordinators, and Matt Rigetti were both on Sucker Punch with me, I had actually learned their timing and their behavior, and my stunt performance is very much an attempted mirror at theirs. And so they knew my timing so well. I knew their timing so well. We knew what words we used to communicate, and we'd done this together so many times before that we were a well-oiled machine, and we could go a lot faster than many other productions. So that mixed in with Ian Seabrook, who was operating the camera, and he was second unit DP. He is the most nimble gentleman I've ever met. He was dodging zombies flying in and around him, dodging my knife and gun flying in and around him as I'm doing things. And he captured every single hit every single time. And I never felt him there, because he was just always out of everyone's way, yet in the right place. And it was magic happening in that room.
Yeah, favorite action sequence in the movie for me. That's this entire thing. And so look, the scream, was that you, or was this in the script, or was that you just taking it too long?
That was me. It felt right. And there are actually versions where instead of the scream, I did ask if I could yell out "Let's rock" before doing it, because how could you be dressed like that in that environment with cameras rolling and not at least have that as an option to pay true homage to Private Vasquez? So it exists. That is not what made the film, as everyone can see, but it exists and it's out there. And I was thinking of her. I think that Vasquez is probably on a poster in Chambers' bedroom wall.
Oh yeah, probably. That, you know what? That is definitely where a poster of her lies. Is definitely. Were you able to take anything home from the set?
Yeah, everyone asked me that, and now I wish that I would have. But I'm such a goody two shoes with that. I'm always so worried that someone's going to need it, and I would have inconvenienced somebody. So I really liked the watch, and so what I did is I went to the store and I bought a identical one for myself.
Yeah.
So.
All right. How many bandanas did you guys go through during this shoot?
I think just one.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't think it was washed the whole time either.
Oh.
Like layers and layers.
So when you got done, final day, it was just like it was hard? Was it just like from the sweat drying on it, it was just like in a circle?
Yeah, there was like old makeup caked on. So it was like still in its nice shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe they did wash it, but maybe the makeup caking just stayed. I have no idea. But it didn't look or smell like it had been washed, and it had been put through the ringer. And I felt proud of it in a way.
Yeah, I would have to. I don't blame you. Maybe there's like in some museum there's going to be an Army of the Dead like thing there, and you know how they have the mannequin with their costume on and things. Maybe there's there. Maybe they'll have the bandana like the same one that you wore for this entire shoot, which is wild.
Yeah, I would love that.
You said something interesting. I heard about the lighting for the gunshots in the sequence. Yeah, so tell us about that.
Yeah, that was probably, in my eyes, yes, there was performance and we were throwing around zombies, but it was something that I feel like the stunt performers and myself felt good about, felt confident with. But the true hero for me in this fight sequence was Matthew Rigetti. He had a remote control that was actually manually operating the muzzle flash for my gun. So what he had to do is he had to memorize my choreography probably better than I had it memorized.
Yeah, I bet.
He was actually crouched on top of a shelf in a dark corner of the room watching me. And so as I did the choreography, and I don't even know how he like visually saw, because it was dark and then bright and then dark and then bright. And you know, it's a trip on the eyes. But every time I aimed the gun, it was him controlling the muzzle flash. So our timing between each other had to be perfect. He had to know it was stab, stab, shoot, shoot, stab, shoot, stab, shoot. He had to know the timing, the rhythm. And he was just up there and he was operating the lights as I was doing it. So,
oh man, that is impressive to say the least. I can imagine I couldn't even do it. And I've seen the movie like 6 times. I probably still couldn't even do it for every one of the gunshots. That's very, very impressive. And
I can imagine him rolling his eyes at this too, because he's so talented in so many other regards. He's a fight choreographer. He is such a brilliant person and a performer. He's an amazing performer. So the fact that I keep talking about like his timing with hitting this button, he's probably like, I can do so much more.
Yeah. He's gonna be like, yo, you guys are reducing me to the button time, dude. And that's This one here, this shot here too, I wanted to ask, like the gag afterwards, was that you too, or was that?
Oh, thanks. I feel like you're calling out all the moments where I was making an active point to get over myself, to make my own choices and not be scared
we're
of someone being like,
Samantha. We're here.
Yeah, if someone being like, that's stupid. But I was like, if this is Chambers' first time, then this is a decayed human being in front of her. So that was something that was a choice of mine, and I was terrified to do it because of my obvious, I guess, insecurities with making choices. But I think leaps and bounds ahead of getting over it now, especially after seeing that there are moments people have been appreciating. So I got to trust myself.
Yeah, those are the standout moments, of course, for it's me especially, and for a lot of the fans, people that I talk to, my friends, that we've talked about the movie, and those are some of the things that like a lot of people just notice. Glad to know that like those are things that were just yours, that you brought to the role yourself, that like unscripted. It's fire. That's so great. So what was it like working with the crew? I mean, those guys are phenomenal. I didn't find for myself a weak point in the entire cast of this movie or the performances. So how was it like working with those guys?
Oh, thank you. It was really a true gift. In a weird way, because we were all so different from each other, we all were in different walks of life, come from different countries, different accents. There was probably an air of, how will we fit together? How will this work? But in a way, all of our differences and the struggles that we went through because of those differences, that's really what united us. And so we had an incredibly close, supportive, caring cast. And I do think that what everyone has been hearing and seeing is a very true and genuine reflection. We've all seen each other outside of work. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm meeting with Anna and Garrett. So yeah, they were very much true friendships that were forged throughout the process. And we never felt alone, whether it was myself feeling like I was kind of the newest in a lead role capacity amongst the cast. They all helped me through that so much and gave me the confidence to make my own decisions and to trust myself. And then others who were perhaps struggling with their accents or feeling nervous about that. There were others around who have been through that, who could help them through as well. So it was truly a special experience. I think we worked together so well, and everyone seemed to adapt the true mindset of ensemble.
Now, I always love to hear that from members of a large cast like that. Zach is so good at like having making his cast so diverse that, you know what I mean? And I love that about him. And I love to hear like that you had this great experience like working with such a large like cast, and there's so many characters and like so many storylines have to flow through.
Yeah. I mean, especially working with Tig too. She was just so funny on. No, I'm kidding. I didn't get to work with her.
Yeah. And that is so ridiculous. The fact that she was not there, and it looks like she was. Once again, Zach and all involved, kudos, because that was spectacular. Like I couldn't really find anywhere where I was just like, yo, she just wasn't there, because everything was done so well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really amazing to hear. And very much his casting process is also reflected in his crew. Everyone is so diverse, so kind and genuine.
Yeah.
He really, once he finds a good personality, will use them. And so when you see people next project, they're familiar. They are like family. And it's just a whole other atmosphere of knowing that someone has your back. And yeah, it doesn't feel like work anymore. It feels like hanging out with your friends.
Nice. That like I said, I always love to hear like people who have done movies with like this large group of people have like a great experience in doing so. So that's really great to hear. And before we wrap up, I just want to ask you about this. So this look that you give Guzman, this is probably, it's the best act. It's great. It's so fire. So like that look, and also Zach killed you again. I'm like, dude, why'd you do that?
Hey, I think it's fun.
Yeah. I do. I can tell you the first time I watched it, for a few minutes afterwards, I was like, I was kind of bummed, because I wanted to see where you went, but then like everybody dies. Spoilers if you didn't know, but then everybody dies. So then you're like, okay, cool. Like you went out the most badass. I can say that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that look, because that was a real struggle for me, actually. Just prior to that, whether it was like blood or some of the makeup, I was just sweating so much, and there was so much on me that I wiped my eye, and I got something in it, and I had to go to the set medic, and they had to like flush out my eye. I think I burnt something in there, and so I couldn't open it. It was so irritated and sensitive that to open it was so painful. Wow. So when we were shooting that, I was trying so hard to be in the moment and to act, but also it was like burning, stinging pain just to have my eye open. So I'm so happy that that moment was still resonated with people, and it wasn't me just like,
yeah.
The lights went up.
Well, considering that, you did a tremendous job with that. So look, congratulations on all your success. What do you have in the future besides like Unwelcome? Like what else? What other projects are you working on?
No, well, it's hard when you're bound by NDAs for so nothing outside that I can speak about quite yet.
Okay.
But I'd encourage everyone to check out Unwelcome, and when I can post about things on my social media, you can always find me there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. It's crazy because like this is a great way to spend my birthday, is to actually have a conversation with you. So
happy birthday! Oh my God!
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means the world to me. It is. Yeah, it's my birthday today. That's another reason why I was like, I'm not missing this talk with her. So whatever we have to do to make this happen, we're gonna make it happen. But yes, thank you so much for that. You just made my day.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for talking to me on your birthday. That is so special. So I hope you absolutely spoiled the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think I will be. I'm pretty sure. Just its birthday's just starting, so we'll see what else the day has in store for me.
Coming out of the pandemic too, so it'll be better than last year's.
So yes, Samantha, thank you so much for joining 4NERDS. You're welcome back anytime. Anytime that you get the opportunity. If you'd like to come back, we'd love to have you. And that way, maybe you get to talk to the other three guys, Ryan and Andre. Shouts out to my boys. They'll be watching this later on too, as we air it tonight, 7:30 p.m.
Give him some shit for me. No.
I will. I'll give him some shit. All right. Thank you so much, Samantha. And Army of the Dead is on Netflix right now. I don't know if it's still in theaters. I don't think it is, but Chambers is fire. Favorite character. And Samantha, we look forward to seeing whatever you have in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.